My parents let me die, then came back for the money. My parents let me die, not figuratively, not emotionally, literally. I was in a coma, 3 days between life and death, and they never showed up. Before I go on, please hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. If you've ever felt like your family would only show up when it benefits them, this story is yours too. When I woke up in that hospital room, barely breathing, body shattered, the first thing I asked was, "Did my parents come?" The nurse didn't answer. She just looked away, eyes full of pity. I had been pulled from the wreckage of my car by my 74-year-old neighbor. She called 911. She stayed until the ambulance arrived. She even visited me the next morning. But my own parents? Not a single call. Not one. They knew. They just didn't care. And I shouldn't have been surprised. They'd been abandoning me for years. I was the accident, the financial burden, the daughter who ruins their early retirement. Too expensive with my asthma, too different, too independent. Graduation? Barely an odd. First apartment? Nothing. When I launched my art business? Silence. Meanwhile, my brother Mason? Applause for breathing. He crashed 2 cars, they bought him another. Dropped out of college, they called him a free spirit. Everything he did was brilliant. But when it was my turn to need something, to need them, they left me in a hospital bed with nothing. I didn't have insurance. My business barely covered supplies, let alone trauma care. The hospital asked if there was anyone who could help with the bills. I gave them my dad's number. They called him. His response was, "If she's alive, she can figure it out. She always wanted to be independent." That broke me, but not into pieces. It broke me open. Right there in that sterile white room, I made myself a promise. If I survived, they'd never get another drop from me. When I was discharged, I was in debt, bruised, walking with a cane. I went back to my tiny studio apartment. Thank God I prepaid 6 months in advance. And I started thinking, planning, not how to get revenge, how to get free. Then came the call from an attorney. Apparently, my great-aunt Evelyn had passed away. I'd only met her twice. She always seemed quiet, but when we spoke, her voice had something my parents never gave me: respect. She left me everything. Her entire estate. All of it. No warning, no explanation until I read her letter. It said, "To the only one in this family who knows what pain feels like and never turned cold. Use this to heal. Build your own legacy. Leave the rest behind." I cried. Not because of the money, because someone saw me. Then I opened the folder. Inside was a fortune. A vineyard in Northern California, 3 rental homes in Oregon, and over $3 million in investments. All mine. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't need to. First, I paid off the hospital bills anonymously. Then, I broke my lease, packed my things, and went to see the vineyard. My vineyard. I walked through the rows of grapes like I was breathing for the first time. That peace, it didn't last long, because a few weeks later, Mason messaged me. "Heard you're alive. Mom said you're ignoring everyone. Don't be dramatic." No, how are you? No, glad you survived. Just entitlement. And that same bitter family poison I had spent my whole life swallowing. I didn't respond. But I didn't delete it either, because I knew something was coming. And I was right. It didn't take long. I had quietly listed my aunt's beachfront condo for sale. One of the agents posted photos online. Guess who recognized the marble floors? My parents. They showed up. Uninvited. I opened the door. In silence. My dad's eyes scanned the furniture. My mom blinked at the ocean view. "Whose place is this?" she asked. I smiled.
Can I help you? They acted nice. Too nice. We've been so worried. You look amazing. That dress, is it designer? I offered them tea. In china cups with gold rims, imported from France. They noticed. But it didn't take long for the mask to slip. My dad leaned in. We heard about your aunt, Evelyn. Sad, such a sweet woman. My mom chimed in. She always liked you. We assumed she'd split everything. Maybe you can just transfer our share. No apology. No remorse. No mention of the hospital. No, we're sorry we left you. Just hands out.
I stared at them, calm, and said, "You didn't show up when I was dying. You didn't even ask if I lived. But now you want to share my inheritance?" Silence. Then my dad snapped. "Don't be selfish. We raised you. You owe us." That was it. The final crack. I stood, walked to the fireplace, took out Aunt Evelyn's letter, the original. I handed it to my mom. She left everything to me. No shares, no splits, no crumbs. And just so they understood, I already sold her stocks last week, bought a building, opened my own art collective. My mom blinked. "What business?" "The one you mocked. My art. I bought a gallery downtown." And then I leaned in, and I fired your friend Karen as gallery manager. She never liked me either. They stood up to leave, but not before my dad spat, "You'll regret this. When Mason gets the house and everything else, don't come crawling back." I smiled. "You'll be the ones crawling. Because the house, it was already in my name. They just didn't know it yet." Weeks passed. For the first time in my life, I felt peace. Not just silence, real, earned peace. I had rebuilt myself, brick by emotional brick, far from guilt, far from manipulation. But peace has a way of being interrupted, especially when your past refuses to stay buried. It started with a voicemail from Mason. "Hey, they're selling the family house. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Something about taxes. Anyway, not my circus. I'm moving in with Claire. Thought you should know." I already knew. Because I did it. See, when Aunt Evelyn left me everything, I didn't just inherit money. I inherited power, quiet power, legal power. Hidden deep in one of the trust portfolios was full ownership of a small mortgage company. And guess who borrowed against the house 5 years ago? My parents. Guess who never paid it back? They thought the loan had vanished, lost in some faceless bank system. They had no idea who held the note. Me. They weren't being evicted by some institution. They were being evicted by the daughter they left in a hospital bed. I waited for the day. The movers arrived. Boxes stacked on the lawn. My father, red-faced, yelling at the truck driver. My mother, sobbing on the porch like it was a soap opera. Then I pulled up. Not in my old beater. I drove a sleek charcoal gray electric SUV. Tailored navy suit, hair pulled back,
lips calm, chin high. My mother's mouth dropped. "You?" My father stomped toward me. "What the hell are you doing here? Come to gloat?" I held up a white envelope. This is your notice. The deed now belongs to a charitable trust. The house will be converted into a shelter. He blinked. You can't do that. This is our home. I nodded slowly. No, it was. Now it's theirs. I pointed behind me. A group of young women stood near the sidewalk, guided by a social worker I had partnered with. One held a baby, one had bruises. All of them had eyes too old for their age. Girls like me. Girls like the one they abandoned. My mother choked out. You're doing this out of spite. I stepped forward. No, I'm doing this out of survival. You raised me in a house where love came with strings, where success meant silence. You left me when I needed you the most. And now, you're getting what you gave. They looked again. At the girls. At the porch. At me. That's when panic set in. Not anger. Not pride. Desperation. Please, my mom whispered. We have nowhere to go. I looked her dead in the eyes. You said I was worthless, dead weight, a burden. So I got a job, built a business, inherited an empire. I rose. You don't get to climb with me now. They left that day with nothing but the bags they once threw at me when I was kicked out. Same sidewalk, same tears, different woman. Poetic, isn't it? Weeks later, the shelter opened. It wasn't just a house anymore. It was a statement, a message carved in brick. You don't need to be accepted to be worthy. Reporters came. Donors wrote checks. Volunteers helped set up rooms, decorate, prepare beds. I stood beside girls who reminded me of myself. Not the broken version, the rebuilding one. And for the first time in my life, my story wasn't about pain. It was about purpose. But the night before the ribbon cutting, a letter arrived. A plain envelope, no return address. Inside, a handwritten note and a photo, an old photo. Me, unconscious, lying in a hospital bed. Sitting beside me, a woman in a nurse's uniform, eyes tired but gentle, hand resting on mine. Her message was simple. They left after 5 minutes, but I stayed your whole first night. I just wanted you to know you were never truly alone. I broke, not from pain, but from healing. Because in that moment, I finally understood. My story didn't end with abandonment. It ended with rebirth. And they were just the prologue. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. If your story feels forgotten, this one was for you.